Computer.
Hey, aloha, everybody. This is Jeff Reinebold. We are back. We've got through a long weekend of football. Well, almost through a long weekend of football. I'm joined, as I'm always joined by my man, Michael McQuaid from NFL Ireland. And we're here to bring you another episode of the Jeff Reinebold Show, brought to you by 888 Sport, the official gambling partner of the National Football League in the UK and in Ireland.
Jeffrey, how you doing? Have you had a Greg's yet?
I'm good, man. Are you okay, man? I mean, you are. I know it was a big weekend. You put some miles on that body of yours this weekend.
Well, this Saturday, which I'm so excited for, we're in Manchester. And can I just first off, and I know you'll equal the statements, thank everyone for coming to Glasgow. That was awesome. Really good fun. Really excited for this Saturday. In Manchester, Band on the Wall. You can get tickets, lanktr.ee/Reinebold. This Saturday is the last time I'm getting on a flight until I go to Vegas, and I am now at home every weekend until then, after this weekend. So I cannot wait. My body's like, but bar that, it's all good, you know?
Hey, well, let's talk a little football. Today was I guess the second of casualties, coaching casualties. Frank Reich was fired today by the Carolina Panthers. I wouldn't say I was even remotely surprised that it happened. David Tepper's history has been that he's going to fire coaches. He fires, this is now, I think, his third coach that he's had since he bought the team. And, that's just kind of his history. Everybody's frustrated in Carolina with the fact that they're right now maybe the worst team in the National Football League. They had the first pick in the draft, took Bryce Young. It's been a struggle for him all season long. And again, I would imagine that Frank might be relieved, to be honest with you, because did you see the pictures of him, Michael? He looks like he aged 50 years in 8 months. I swear he's a good
job, though, Jeff.
Pardon me?
It's the stress of the job as well. It's things that maybe casual fans don't seem to realize. It takes. I mean, you can say because you're involved in a coaching role, it takes over your life.
It does, and it eats up your health. I'll tell you, Mike. One time, Coach Vermeil and I were driving down the road, and he told me, pull over, right? I was taking him to the airport, and he said, pull over. So I did what I was told. I pulled over, and he said, I need to talk to you about something. And I said, Coach, what's up? And he looked at me and he said, I see way too much of me in you. And I'm just going to tell you, this job can eat you alive. And he was the first coach that actually, coined the term burnout when he left the Eagles after taking what was the worst franchise in the NFL to the Super Bowl. And then they had a strike year and all of the stress of the strike year and scab teams. And then they didn't start very well. And he just finally had to walk away and be away for 13 years before he came back to the NFL. And he had to learn how to deal with it. But Mike, it's 24/7. It's incredible pressure. It's not a healthy lifestyle. You're in the office all the time. You're sitting at a desk. You're on a computer. Those guys don't eat right. They don't get enough exercise. I mean, it's all of the things that are, bad about high-level business. And you get, unlike business where you have a quarterly report or a yearly report you got to answer to, you got to answer every Sunday. And in pro football, that means you're on a very short leash, and you could see the stress that Frank was under, the pressure he was under. He fired a coordinator, and actually didn't fire him. He moved a coordinator, around. He called the plays. Then he gave up the play calling, and it was just not working at all in Carolina. So I'm happy for him in one regard. Obviously, you never want to see a guy lose his job, but I think now he'll have a chance to decompress, take a breath, and hopefully come back and coach again because he's a good man.
I think, yeah, look, I mean, you never really hear anything negative about him around the league. He's obviously well respected by his peers, players in the league, but it's been clear for weeks that it just wasn't working. And while the narrative on Monday and early this week is that this move has been done to protect and show Bryce Young that he's the main guy and it's all about committing and trying to grow him. The last time I checked, the San Francisco 49ers have got a defensive coordinator in Steve Wilkes, a guy last year that took, he had what, 12 games? 12 games of the Panthers, was 6-6. You could see thousands of miles away where I am from Carolina, the buy-in on the field, the players loved him. I just think Tepper made a huge mistake not keeping him in that team. I
mean, you go back to Matt Rule. I mean, Matt Rule wasn't terrible at Carolina, and that thing was really bad when he took it over, and he had them competitive. I guess when you the owner can do whatever he wants to because it's his team and he can he signs the checks and that gives him the right to make decisions and move people and do all that stuff. I mean, I get it, right? But I'm going to tell you something. As long as I've been in the business, Mike, continuity and sticking with a program through the hard times is really, really important. And when you change coaches, it's more than changing coaches. It's now changing the chemistry, it's changing the culture, it's changing the playbook. The changes that go on are far bigger than just one man. And so I think this is going to continue to set Carolina back. And frankly, they're going to be, there's only 50 of these jobs in the world, right? So, everybody wants one. But the reality of it is that if you have choices, I don't know if Carolina is really where you want to, hitch your wagon. And I think he's going to find that out during this process.
A couple of things. We sort of mentioned it. How much did you enjoy Glasgow on Saturday? And there's been a few things over the last few days. I have somehow persuaded you to come to Dungannon on the last night of our tour. After Manchester this week, you've got an 8-tour date schedule in Ireland, not just in the island of Ireland. So it's going to be a really, really fun few weeks. You've got a very, very busy time coming back over here, but you're certainly going to make the most of it, Jeff.
Well, I think Michael, those tour dates and the one we had in Glasgow last weekend were, I love those things. The opportunity to get one-on-one with the fans, and I'm not fans of me, but fans of the NFL, and to be able to chop it up and talk football and listen to their stories and, how they got to be fans of whatever team they're fans of. And, the couples, it's really cool. It's really, really cool to me to see the number of fathers and sons that were there, the numbers of husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners. This game is for everybody. And I really am really pleased and honored really to have an opportunity to go out into the field, I guess is the way you say it, and, interact with fans of the National Football League, because this game has been so good to me and it's given me really everything that I have. And the opportunity to pay that back, by spending a few hours, sharing stories and talking football with fans of the game, it's priceless to me. And Glasgow was a blast. We had a great crowd. We had a great turnout. We had great interaction with the fans. This week, we're going back to Manx. So it's going to be fun. And we have a beautiful, and I mean a beautiful venue that you secured up in Manchester.
It's going to be awesome. Did you get chatting to that special guest yet? TBC? Yeah.
That's TBC. Totally TBC right now.
We said TB, not Phoebe. So
I said TB, not Phoebe. I didn't. Come on now.
I'm joking. Looking forward to that. We're also going to try and do a couple of podcasts in person on Saturday because we have time. Venue's taking over everything. So you're going to be like a VIP, Jeff. And we're going to get you a Greg's on Saturday. So I'm very excited to get you a Greg's.
Okay, so that the fans, so that the people listening out there can get this little inside joke that Michael has with me, right? So we're in Glasgow, and we had finished the show the night before, the Sky Sports show from Manchester. We finished and got back to the hotel about 1:30 in the morning. Well, the only train we could get to Glasgow left the station at 5:30. So we had to get up at 4:30 to get to the 5:30 train. And so that meant Mike and I slept about 3 hours before we got to Glasgow. And obviously we didn't stay. We just came in, did the show, and then Mike flew back to Ireland and I flew back to London. So needless to say, we were tired. And Mike said something about going to Greg's. And I looked at the building, and I've looked at that building. I mean, they're everywhere down here, right? I looked at it, and I, honest to God, thought Greg's was a bank. And Michael thought I was the biggest dope in the whole world, but I'd never been in one. And so when he said, "Let's go to Greg's," I'm like, Mike, what do we need to go to the bank for? It's only 7:30 in the morning. So I'll not live that down for a long time, I'm sure.
Nice train journey up, to be honest with you. You know, I had a great day, and I know people are commenting. I see Brandon's put a comment in as well there, and just a massive thanks to everyone who took the time to come out of their Saturday and do it, because for us, I think the matinee, the daytime things are working at the minute. So looking forward to Manchester this weekend. If you want a couple of tickets, hit us up or visit linktr.ee/Reinebold, and then it's all eyes on Ireland, my man. All eyes on the Emerald Isle. It's going to be fun. You obviously were working on Sky last night. Sky had the Jags against the Texans. They had the Eagles and the Bills. And then you all went, "Oh, I'm way home to bed. Don't worry about the Chargers against the Ravens." I'm joking.
Let me just say this. There were 4 tired people on that couch. And I give Neil credit, because Neil's got the hardest.
But you can see how tired you were, man.
But I'm going to tell you, Neil has the hardest job, because he's got to run the whole thing, right? So he's got the producer and the director in his ear, and he's trying to watch the monitors and do. I mean, it's amazing how good he does that job. And then J Bell and Phoebe are on the couch with me, and it was 2 of the best games I think I've seen on Sky. It may be the best 2 games I've ever seen on Sky back to back, because the Texans game comes down to the last drive, and they try a long field goal, 50, I think it's 58-yarder, and Domagala or Dolaga, whatever the kid's name, Amendola it was. I'm sorry, Amendola hits the crossbar. I mean, he's that close, hits the crossbar, or who they might still be playing. I don't know. I mean, it was really, really, really a great football game, and 2 really great young quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, I thought, was outstanding. He made a couple mistakes, Mike, at the end of the game, and a couple of critical mistakes that usually it's a young quarterback that makes. They could have, in my opinion, I think they could have helped him a little more down that stretch. But the one time he took a sack, that was an absolute no-no, because you just can't, move yourself. And that could have knocked him out of field goal range. And actually it did knock him out of field goal range, because Amendola wasn't able to convert it. But his chemistry and his connection to Tank Dell, man, they are going to be something to watch. And on the other side, I was really impressed with the way that Trevor Lawrence, really dealt the ball to a lot of really good looking players. Jacksonville's got a nice looking offense, and Josh Allen, their pass rusher. I would love to be his agent today, because I'm telling you, he can just start adding zeros on the end of his contract, because he had 3 sacks in the game, Mike. And J Bell said at the end of the broadcast, he was talking, and he said, you got to have closers, and he's right, because you want your guys to make plays at the biggest moments. And I'm telling you, Josh Allen closed that game out for the Jacksonville Jaguars last night.
seen Ryan putting the live comment in saying Texans got cheated out of that game. Do you agree with that?
Well, you know what? Somebody put a tweet out. It was on Twitter, and I saw it, and so I responded to it. It said that the officials cost the Texans the game. I don't know if an official ever costs you the game. Really, that's the only reason you lost the football game. But obviously, it was a contributing factor in both games, because this is what's frustrating for coaches, and this is why I go nuts about it. If there's consistency, then you know how to coach around the officials, right? But when there's not consistency, when they don't hold everybody to the same standard, or one play they officiate one play, this way, and then again you get the same call or the same potential call, and they don't call it, it drives you nuts, because you can't help your players play. And I just really thought that that there were some of those interference calls were just so. All right, let me say it this way, Mike. The officials don't need to be the face of the game, right? And I think sometimes, I really, really believe this, I think the officials want to be a part of the game. They want to make a big call at a crucial moment. They want that. They want to be able to stand there and affect the game. Their job is to officiate the game, not to be stars of the game. We got enough stars of the game with the players, right? The coaches in my opinion, and the officials don't need to be the stars. It's the players' game. And I'm telling you, that fan base in Houston was hot during the course of the game.
It was a really, really fun game to watch, and it was a standout game in the early window for sure. I guess while it's in my mind, I want to go back to that Bills against the Eagles game and just say one thing. As a football guy, when you hit the ball with one timeout with 20 seconds to go, why do you kneel? Why do you kneel, Jeff? And I think Tony Romo, and I like Tony Romo, but for him to sit there last night and say, "Oh yeah, I get it, the Eagles' defense is legit and all this," what? Go win the game. You've got one or two plays. You've got a timeout. Go and win the game. One play. Josh Allen was firing it down the field last night at certain points. What in the hell would he do?
Well, I think what Sean McDermott did, right? Because that decision would have been made by him, not Josh Allen, not Joe Brady, the coordinator. It would be a head coach's decision. That's what the safe thing was, because that situation, he didn't want to take the chance on an interception, a tip ball, any of the things that might have happened. And it was the safe play. Now, I'm not saying it was the best play or the right play, and it turned out to not be the right play, because they weren't able to, hold the Eagles. But that's, I'm sure, the reason why he decided to do it. And it was, let me just say this. I talked to a friend of mine in Buffalo today, Mike, and they are hot in Western New York. And I mean hot. The radio station up there, and you can get it on YouTube, is WGR. Steve Tasker is one of the Bills broadcasters, and Task told me that they're sharpening the knives. They want Sean McDermott's head. They want Gabe Davis is persona non grata right now in Buffalo. But you know what? And I think it's funny, because Tony Romo is a big Josh Allen fan, right? And on the play where they got their signals crossed, when they got zero blitzed, right? The ball that Tony should have thrown was the corner, right? Because the DB is inside of the wide receiver, because it's zero coverage. There's no safety in the middle of the field. And they ran a little, what we call a smash concept, which is a corner and a flat route, right? And so instead of breaking away from the DB's leverage, which is what Gabe Davis thought what he should do, Josh threw the ball in the middle of the field and they got their signals crossed and they missed the touchdown because they, again, you don't see, you might see 5 snaps of zero coverage in a whole game and 65 plays on defense. And that would be a lot because it's such a high risk situation. And, in that scenario, the Eagles got away with one because they got their signals crossed on what their zero blitz adjustment was.
Was there any other game that stood out to you? For me, it was interesting to see Kenny Pickett and the Steelers offense improve after last week. Desmond Ridder, I don't think had a passing touchdown the last time I checked it. It was a really fun game in terms of how he took over. I'm trying to think, the Broncos are a decent team. Never thought I'd say that for a while. The Chiefs came back from the dead at one point against your Raiders. Jeff seen a Raiders hat in Jetty Sports on Saturday and wouldn't buy it. Didn't like the color of it.
I thought there were some outstanding games. I want to talk about the Pittsburgh game because, sometimes things can get swept under the rug when you win, right? And I'm not saying that this has happened, but I think it's something to look out for. Deontay Johnson, he got some issues, right? There were some plays in that game where he flat did not even participate, right? And last week, he and Minkah Fitzpatrick had to be separated in the locker room. Now, if I'm on that team and I got a guy on my team that's doing that where he's not playing, I mean, he didn't want to block, he didn't want to run, he didn't want to. I mean, it was embarrassing to football. It was embarrassing to the game. It was embarrassing to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was embarrassing to Mike Tomlin, right? Here's what happens with guys like this. Because he's talented, he's going to get some grace. But I'm just here to tell you that those kind of guys are never going to win with you at the highest level. Never. Never. Right? And they're not worth the distraction. Now, the Steelers will do what the Steelers will do, right? But how can Mike Tomlin stand up in front of his football team? And one of Mike Tomlin's favorite quotations, and I know you've heard it from him, Mike, because you work for the Steelers, is the standard will always be the standard. Well, that guy ain't living up to the standard. And so you got two choices. You either get him to live up to the standard or you get rid of him.
I was surprised at I wasn't that surprised, but I was surprised at how quickly the offense got better, but more so not the offense generally. But we've seen a few deep passes by Kenny, which is interesting. Bengals, for what they were, and for the fact that Burrow's not there anymore, Browning stayed in the game for a while. Wasn't the game for anybody but a purist, to be fair, Jeff. But it was one of those games. Trying to cover as many things as we can.
Here's what I think. One of the things that's going to be interesting to listen to your podcast is your Steeler podcast this week, Mike. And
recording during the week, Jeff. Wednesday.
It's going to be interesting to listen to it because I want to see what the reaction is to how much better they had. 400 yards of offense, right? Now they didn't score a lot, but they had 400 yards offense. And the biggest change in that offense to me was they ran the football. Najee Harris looked like Najee Harris again. They hadn't been able to run. They couldn't knock you or me off the ball all season long. And now all of a sudden they make a coordinator change and the running back coach becomes the coordinator and the quarterback coach becomes the play caller, which is kind of an unusual situation, but it worked at least 1 week. And so there's hope to me in Pittsburgh for that offense.
Time will tell, my man. Time will tell. We have loads of comments. We're going to get in the second part of the podcast, getting your questions. We've loads of questions, Jeff. Loads of questions. I know
it's a beautiful thing because we got some good ones. I got some good ones today, early on in the day, that came to my Twitter account, and
my
X account. But there were fans from just about every team in the league that had something to say about the games this week or their team or what's going on. And man, that's what makes this job fun. That's what makes doing this podcast fun, when we get the interaction from the fans.
Before we get to the questions, which we will do in a second, if you're watching this live on YouTube, do fire in a question now. If you're listening on the podcast, happy Tuesday. Here's your TikTok or Instagram reel, Jeff. Jeff is now on Instagram for the show. Jeff Reinebold Show, all one word. Jeff, here's the real moment. What was the biggest thing that stood out to you in week 12?
I'm going to say this, that there is no perfect team. There is nobody that you would say, I can't see them getting beat, right? I don't see a dynasty team. I don't think the Chiefs are. I don't think San Francisco is. I don't think Philadelphia is. I don't think Dallas is. I don't think Miami is. I don't think Baltimore is. There's some very, very good teams, all of those that I just talked about. But I also see some teams making late runs and getting into the playoffs that we never would have anticipated. I don't think, Mike, seriously, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that your Broncos could sneak in somehow, right? And now the Texans, chances took a hit. They probably got to win that division to get in. But we also could see a Buffalo Bill team that we thought was squarely in their Super Bowl window not make the playoffs, because they got a tough schedule coming, right? They have Miami yet. They have Dallas yet. I mean, they've got a tough schedule.
I'm saying it now. I'm saying it now in week 12. I said it last night. I'll say it tonight. I think the Bills miss the playoffs. I think they're not good enough. 6-6 is not good with the schedule coming up. I have them missing the playoffs. And if that's the case, I think McDermott has to go. The window's closing, and they're going to have to regroup and rebuild around certain positions around Josh Allen. And I think the window has already closed, potentially, which is crazy to think.
That is a big statement, but you sound very much like the fans in Buffalo right now, right? And there was panic earlier in the year in Buffalo about is the Super Bowl window closing, right? But I think that's one. I'm really interested to see what's going to end up happening in the NFC North, right? Because the Lions did not look very good against the Packers, and the Packers looked like they were a team that is starting to figure it out. And again, it's not too late. If you get hot down this stretch, win 6 straight or whatever, win 5 out of 6 or whatever, you might be a playoff team in Green Bay. I mean, I would have never thought we were going to say that earlier in the year, right? But
I agree.
I think that's the reality of it. And you look at, who's going to win between, excuse me, the Falcons and the Saints, and that division's going to be a mess too.
Yeah. Okay. There's this is one of the questions. There's so much to talk about. Sign us out of this podcast.
All right, this is Jeff Reinebold saying aloha and goodbye from London, England, and Belfast, Northern Ireland. So from Mike and I, and we'll be back in a second to take your questions on the second half of the Jeff Reinebold Show.
Go.
Aloha, we're back for the second half of our show. We're going to take questions from you live right now. Michael, let's take them, because I know we got a bunch of them.
Jeff, the first question is from Michael. What time do you get to Manchester on Saturday?
What time do I get to Manchester, or what time did I get to Manchester?
What time do you arrive in Manchester this Saturday?
Mike, I have no clue. I have no earthly idea. I just know I'm going to be there in time for the show.
If there's any, if anybody watching this, listening to this, has any ideas that they'd like to see or hear for like a couple of special podcasts, me and Jeff are going to have a little bit of time. We can put them out over the next few weeks. Let us know. We'd love to do something. Please let me know, because my brain is currently mush. That's basically the answer.
Hey, that's our Christmas gift to you. We're gonna do a couple of special podcasts, whatever you want. Rory Fitzgerald, welcome, Rory. How lucky are we in Ireland? So I guess he's from Ireland and the UK. That the 49ers versus Eagles game is on 9:25 p.m. Very thankful if not, it's not a 1.15 a.m. game.
Do you
Hey,
think, Jeff? Now, do you think there's a chance that game might
hey,
be in Sky this week?
let me ask. I think this game is going to, as a matter of fact, Neil called for it, right?
Hey, hold on. If this game wasn't on Sky, I'd cancel my subscription. I'm like, I mean, that's the game.
Don't
That's
go
one of the
make
games of
it.
the season.
Hey, you know what Ron Meyer said to me one time? Right? Do you
No,
know who Ron Meyer? Do you remember who Ron Meyer was?
I mean,
Ron Meyer was the head coach of the New England Patriots when he sent a snowblower out on the field to snowblow a patch of the field so his field goal kicker could kick a last second field goal to beat the Dolphins, right? Honest to God, it's a huge snowstorm in New England, right? And they're driving and they get down in close and it's like the game, I think the game finished like 10-7 or something like that, right? And so Meyer sees there's a snowblower over on the sideline, right? And some guy sitting on the snowblower. Well, the story is that the guy on the snowblower was a convict who was on a day pass from the prison in Boston, right? So Meyer sends a guy over to him, says, "Hey, Coach Meyer wants you to go on the field with the snowblower." So the convict, he don't care, right? He's just he got to watch the Patriot game on his day pass. So the guy goes out, the two teams are huddled up. Meyer takes a timeout. The two teams are huddled up, and out comes the guy on a snowblower, and he blows a patch of snow, blows the snow off of a patch so that the holder and the field goal kicker had actual turf, because Mike, the snow was about 4 inches deep, right? And so they kicked the field goal, run off the field. They beat the Dolphins, right? And Don Shula is hot, and I mean hot. And he tried to get Meyer sanctioned by the NFL. He tried to get him fined. He tried to get him to turn the game and make it a tie, right? Because he said it was illegal. But there was nothing in the rule book about it. There was nothing in the rule book that said you couldn't do it. So Meyer just did it, and the officials didn't know what to do because they'd never faced it before. So that's my little Ron Meyer story. But the great quote that he told me, Mike, and you just made a statement, right? And what did you say? What did you just say? I want you to repeat it for all the listeners.
If this game wasn't on Sky Sports, I'd probably cancel my subscription.
Okay. So when you make a blurt like that, when you make a bold statement like that, Coach Meyer, I made one day in a meeting, in a team meeting, right? Or in a coach's meeting. And he looked across the table at me and he goes, "Hey, kid," because he always called me kid. He goes, "Hey, kid." He said, "Don't let your bulldog mouth write checks that your chihuahua ass can't cash."
I was wondering where that was going, so I'm glad I stuck with it. Any chance of getting Sky for free, or what's the crack? I mean, is this a conversation I'll off screen? I'm joking. I'm joking. It's very good value. 2 great games last night.
It was phenomenal games. But let's get back to the question, right? So again,
look at Brandon's profile.
Wait on Brandon's because we got to answer the other one first. I think it's outstanding, Rory, that the game is at 9:25 and not at 1:15 in the morning, because again, that's a game that everybody's going to want to watch. And this is a game that I think the 49ers have had circled on their calendar for a whole year.
Well, we've got a classic Sunday night football next week anyway, so it's better. Packers Chiefs is next Sunday night, so very, very excited for that there. You see Brandon has changed his picture to he's wearing a Dolphins jersey and he's with some.
And that's my guy, Brandon, right there. Brandon 94, Brandon Wales 94. Good evening. Thanks again for coming to Glasgow. It was a great day after a chilly start to the morning. You ate. Brandon, you aren't kidding. That place was, I mean, it's always been cold every time I go up there, but it was freaking freezing in Glasgow. Hopefully we'll get back next year. We want to come back, and we will come back. And again, we'd like to get up to Edinburgh and eat.
Are we coming back?
Yes, we are. Yeah, I'm going back. If you're not going with me, then you know.
I'll go. We should do Glasgow and Edinburgh on the same day. His question says, "What team can you see sneaking into the playoffs?" I'm going to be quite straight up and say it. I've got the Rams making a late push.
What?
Yeah, baby.
Wow, there's a
Good,
statement.
good run game. Matthew Stafford's been there, has done it. Puka. Yeah, they were
I
good
would love
last
to.
night.
I would love to see that, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with those Packers because I'm telling you they got a good enough defense, and you know if Love plays like he played against the Lions, they got a chance. They can play with anybody. They got a nice young receiver core. Nice young receiver core.
As a man once said to me, "Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me?" Fred says, "Evening, everyone. Hi, Fred.
What's up, Fred? What about those Cowboys, brother? How about your Cowboys?
What about them? I'm joking.
Well,
Luke
you know
is
what?
watching
I
from the
tell you
Bay
what.
Area.
What about them? They can run on defense, right? As long as Dak protects the football, they're explosive on offense. I think the Cowboys are a team that has a chance. Danny Dixon's again now, Mike. We gotta go back to the drawing
Danny
board.
was there at the weekend. He's from
No,
Scotland.
we got to explain this because somehow it's not getting through to our listeners, right? Our viewers. When you send in a question, we need to know where you're from as you send in the question. So it could be Danny Dickinson from Manchester, right? Then we can give Manchester a shout out, right? But when you don't tell us where you're from, you could be from anywhere,
You were
right?
chatting to Danny on Saturday.
I
Fine.
know that, but do you understand?
Actually, no, he wasn't.
Why do
My
you
bad. He's from
always,
Doncaster.
you know what? You are Doncaster, England. Thank you, Danny. All right, let's go on. What do you think of the chance of the Packers making the playoffs, and what do you think the future holds for the Packers and this young team? Hey, Danny hit me on Twitter with this question. I asked him to send it back for the show, so I appreciate you doing that, Danny. I think the Packers played extremely well. I'm excited. They are a good young football team, and you know what I think too? I think Matt LaFleur looks rejuvenated. I think he really, really looks rejuvenated. I think not having Aaron Rodgers there has been good for Matt LaFleur.
I we had this conversation on the train the other day in terms of Jordan Love. I seen Greg Rosenthal talking about the fact that we just don't know what Jordan Love really is. He's so up and down like a yo-yo. I'd love to see him work out, but like I certainly agree. At the moment, I feel like we could see Green Bay making a push towards the end of the season. And when you have that momentum, and when a guy like Jordan Love, who of course has been sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years and has seen some of these moments, to actually be in the moments himself could be so beneficial for his long-term development. But I feel for him, it would be such a big, big thing for him and for this team if they could make a bit of a run. I think it would really, like, nobody gave them a chance going into this year. So where they're at now, I don't think it's that bad, and just in that sense. So time will tell.
I do know this about the Packers. My man, Steve Diddy, he is swole up right now for his Packers. He loves those Packers.
Up the Diddy. Right. I've got loads of questions on Twitter or X, I think it is.
Hit me.
I'm just opening my X account. Sorry, here we go. Okay. Adam Wilson from Newton Abbey, big Cosby Giants fan. Who would be the best fit to replace Bill Belichick?
I don't. Boy, that's a tough.
That's
question.
like asking who replaced Sir Alex Ferguson. Man,
yeah, I tell you what, whoever takes that job, I feel for him, because number one, they're inheriting a bad football team, right? And number two, you're following a legend. Now, obviously, it's the Patriots, and there'll be a lot of people that'll, obviously want that job. But, the thing that I keep hearing, all right, now I'm not saying this is based in fact, but this is what I'm hearing, is the Patriots would make a real run at Mike Vrabel. And that would be interesting. That would really be interesting.
I think that's the only option available. We've seen what Vrabel done with the Titans with what he had. I know it hasn't been great over the last maybe 12 to 18 months, but 2.5 years ago, that Titans team were unbelievable. They were so, so good. Yeah, I think you got to make a run of Vrabel, but not to start and be like the Fox Sports or FS1 or ESPN podcast today. Bill's gone, Jeff. That performance on Sunday was a disgrace. I'm sorry. DeVito,
It was bad.
Are you shitting me?
It was bad. Don't.
It was awful.
It
Like,
was bad. I
it
give it.
was
It was bad.
10 points. 10. You lost.
Well,
The
the fact
opposition
that they
scored
did
10
everything right
points.
to get down there to get into field goal range, he takes the timeout, the whole deal, and then what? The guy yanks one and misses a chip shot field goal. It just kind of, exemplified everything that's wrong with the Patriots right now. But
It's an
I
absolute
think
disgrace.
if they would do that, if they would move on from Bill, I think that Vrabel would be a really, really popular and wise choice. What else we got?
Raider fan 365, who's from Dublin. Hi, mate. Why don't NFL teams give more tryouts to CFL players?
Well, they actually give quite a few, right? And what happens is a guy that's under contract in the CFL can't work out for an NFL team. You're contractually bound to the league and the team that you play on in the league. So in order for a guy to get a workout, he's got to be a free agent. And free agency doesn't start in the CFL until February. So there are some guys that are available right now. I'll tell you a story. Nico Kalinic, who's on the Rams, he's a backup tight end with the Rams, is a guy that is a CFL guy that came in and played 3 years in our league, learned how to play. He's went to a Canadian college, York University, came into the CFL, learned how to play, and now he's playing in the NFL. So it happens quite a bit, actually. There are more CFL guys playing in the NFL than people, really believe or would want to believe. How about this one, though, Mike? You talk about feeling old. It was my birthday a couple of weeks ago. And
Happy birthday.
you talk about knowing that you've been around a little bit. When Javon Holland picked that ball off for Miami and ran it back 100 yards, I said, wow, because I coached his dad, Jonathan, in the CFL in 1996. And now I'm watching his son playing safety for the Miami Dolphins. And it's really, really kind of a cool thing.
And this is a good thing about, being with you all weekend. I've heard that story like 6 times in a good way. Like, it was great crack on Friday night. I love that. And that goes into Ryan from England's question on Twitter on X saying, should we have more games on Friday, Saturday from now on? I know Saturday's at the gap because of college football, but Friday, Jeff?
Well, here's the thing. So, and this is kind of a peek at the landscape, the sport landscape in America. In America, unlike here or maybe anywhere else, right? High school sports in America are huge. I mean, huge. And there's always been kind of an unwritten agreement between high school sports and professional sports that the NFL would not play on Friday nights because that was for high school. They wanted to encourage people to go, kids to participate, all of that. And then college football has always had Saturday. That was their day, right? Now, when I played college football, you didn't play on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, any other day, but you played on Saturday. That kind of changed when ESPN got in the mix and they wanted programming all through the week. So now you can watch college football, which is great because you're going to get it on Sky Sports, but you could watch college football, Monday, Tuesday, you get it all through the week, except Sunday. Sunday has always been reserved for the NFL. But I did see that some of the conference championship games are going to be played on Sunday this week.
Yeah.
I think I would like to see it happen that they played more on Friday, Saturday throughout the week, but not until high school and college football are over.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Andy Ross, time for a couple more questions. Andy Ross from Mid Calder.
Where's that?
I don't know where that is, Jeff. I'll find out while you're answering the question.
Andy, is that Scotland, Ireland, Wales?
I think it's England. I'm going to guess it's England. Surely the NFLPA have to look into ditching artificial playing surfaces. The amount of injuries incurred at MetLife alone is alarming. Should the NFL be trying harder to make all surfaces real grass?
I tell you what, the players, if that ever happened, the players would throw a party. I'm just telling you. The players hate AstroTurf. They hate the artificial surfaces. There's nobody that can convince me ever that injuries, especially the injuries that we see, Jalen Phillips, the good young pass rusher from Buffalo, goes out the other night after he ruptures his Achilles tendon. And I'm telling you, Mike, 15 years ago, even, that was an unheard of injury. It never happened. I mean, that was a middle-aged man's injury, right? And now you got all these, athletes at the prime of their career in fantastic condition going down without even being touched. And so you can't convince me that it's not the surface or the shoes or something. There has to be a reason. And if the NFL is really interested in player safety, like I think they are, and like they say they are, then they're going to get to the bottom of it. And if it means ripping out those artificial surfaces and putting grass back in, what's important? The players, because the players are the game, right? Not Taylor Swift, not the halftime show, not the coaches, none of it. The players are the game.
We've time for one more, and I love my Taylor. Jay Dennehy, I think he's in Mexico at the minute. Are Ohio State out of the top four with that loss, or can they still find a way of getting in? Also, how about that last second field goal from Hawaii to win?
Oh, I tell you what, let's talk about Ohio State first, and then I'll get on. I can have a whole time to talk about Hawaii. Ohio State losing to Michigan crushes any hopes that they have to get into the playoffs. Michigan's going to play Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. That'll be a good game. Iowa plays great defense, but they can't score. They're worse than the Steelers in terms of scoring. So Michigan should win that game. Ohio State has no game to play until they play in their bowl game. So they're pretty much eliminated at this point. Now, the Hawaii game, Mike, this is madness, right? Hawaii's playing senior night, which is a phenomenal thing at the University of Hawaii. And they're playing Colorado State, who has a chance to go to a bowl game. And it's 24-24 with like 40 seconds left to go. Hawaii gets the ball, completes a couple passes. They complete a pass on the sideline, and the guy doesn't go out of bounds. And so he's coming back to the huddle, but they only have like 12 seconds left in the game, right? And so Hawaii runs their field goal team out on the field, right? And there's mass confusion and all this stuff, but they run out on the field, and the kicker lines up for a 51-yard field goal. He never kicked one 50 yards in his life, right? So they get it off, and you got to watch. When you watch the play clock, I swear to God, it's at 1 when the ball snapped, right? I mean, it's like that, and it could have been over. And the wing on the left side goes outside to block a guy, which is completely the wrong thing to do. And a guy runs right through and goes to block the kick, and misses it. And the guy kicks a 51-yarder, and Hawaii wins 27-24. So it was pandemonium in Honolulu. And it was really cool because at Hawaii on senior night, they do a thing called senior walk, where all of the players walk around the stadium, and then the fans put leis on them and, give them cards, and, it's really, really a cool thing. And they say it's an opportunity for the seniors to say goodbye to the fans, and the fans to say goodbye to the seniors. And to think that those guys got a chance to go out as winners, I think is really, really cool.
I can imagine Jeff running around his hotel room at 3 in the morning when everyone else is sleeping, going crazy. Here, good crack last weekend. I'm really, really excited for this weekend. And for people listening, we're going to have a podcast back Thursday night again, where we not only give our picks for week 13. I can't believe it's week 13. Like,
what day is it right now? What day is it?
Monday.
Monday, and in Spanish, it's
Lunes. I'm done with that now. Don't worry. I'm done.
you're not going to give me one now.
Monday night.
You're not going to give me. I can't
Well,
believe you.
look here. I'll tell you what. When it's the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football playing the Vikings, can I just say very quickly? I went to this exact game in Chicago on Monday night, like 3 years ago, and it was so bad. The press, now it happens that the press box in Soldier Field was nice, but the stadium's obviously iconic. But I will not be staying up for Monday night, so it's not happening. But we will be back Thursday night. To be honest with you, I'm not sure what time yet. Yeah, it's nice that you're on this time zone now, so we can just like pop on. But we will let people know on Thursday morning what time we're going to go live at. Your boy needs to get some sleep, man. Got a big weekend ahead of us. There is a rumor going around that you might be in Ireland next week. Is this true?
I am going to try and get there because we got a real special night planned on Wednesday next week, and I really would like to be a part of it.
Well, I haven't told you yet. This my schedule is opened up prior to that also, so we could do stuff. So just putting it out there live right now.
Sounds good. Hey, fans, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, anytime we can interact with the fans, it's great. We're working on the technology where we can bring you onto the show and you can ask your questions live. We're always searching to try and
get dodgy, Jeff.
The next best thing. Trying to find the next best thing. We are brought to you by 888 Sport, the official gambling partner of the National Football League in both Ireland and the UK. And for my co-host, the ever loquacious Michael McQuaid.
I don't know what that means.
That means you speak really well.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm Jeff Reinebold, and we are checking out Aloha.
See you Thursday night. Enjoy the big game tonight, Monday night.
Monday night football! Monday night!